if required by the county to transfer the title, could be about $850. That could be a total savings to your buyer of about $7,850. HUD Homes save thousands. Anybody who has their micro speaker on may want to mute, because we're getting some background noise. Okay, programs and opportunities. There's various financing for FHA purchasers. There's insured, insured with escrow, uninsured, and uninsured with a 203K option. There's the Good Neighbor Next Door program, which offers eligible purchasers eligible properties at 50% off the list price. And if it's a condo or townhome, project approvals are no longer required. They are a regular HUD home transaction. And that's per mortgagee letter 2009-46B. There used to be project approvals required by HUD for condos and townhomes. Now HUD does not require that. I'm going to give you the first Con Ed word, and you go ahead and keep track of this until we ask for them after word 5. But Con Ed word number 1 is intro. I-N-T-R-O, intro. Con Ed word number 1 is intro. I-N-T-R-O. I-N-T-R-O, intro. Con Ed word number 1, intro. It's quick and it's easy. All HUD homes nationwide could be found on HUDHomestore.com. HUDHomestore.com is the only sanctioned website by HUD. You may have heard of HUDHomeAdvisors.com or HUDForeclosed.net or other third-party marketing sites that use HUD listings, but HUDHomestore.com is the only sanctioned website by HUD, and it's free. Owner-occupant priority bidding period is now 15 days for insured and insured with escrow properties, no longer 30 days. Bid transparency. You do not have to negotiate your bid with any particular representative before you place it. Your buyer determines what they want to pay for a property. You place it electronically. It's either accepted or it's declined. There's a quick response to bids, which is generally within 24 hours after the bid deadline date, except when it comes to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and government holiday bids. These are now reviewed on the next business day as a group. So if the bid deadline date falls on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or government holiday, those bids are not going to be reviewed until the next business day, and they'll be reviewed as a group. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes as well. Okay, the second Con Ed word is benefit. B-E-N-E-F-I-T, benefit. Con Ed word number 2 is benefit. If you're trying to receive Con Ed today, please write down the word benefit. We will ask for you to submit the first 5 words after I give word number 5, and word number 2 is benefit. B-E-N-E-F-I-T, benefit. Okay. What is a HUD home? A HUD home is an FHA insured mortgage that has gone into default. The lender acquires the property back and submits a claim to HUD. HUD pays that lender a claim amount, and now HUD owns that home and is charged with marketing and selling it. It can be a single-family residence, a townhome, a condominium, or any other residence up to 4 units. You can find HUD homes Monday through Saturday on HUDHomestore.com. You can also find them there on Sunday. There's just nothing new added on Sundays. And then you can also find them in your local MLS boards. Normally I would ask, if I had you in front of me, I would ask how many people in the room are brokers with NATES. But I'm going to just go over this information briefly. And all brokers are required, well, brokers who wish to do HUD business or brokerages that wish to do HUD business, their broker has to register for a NATE number, which is name, address, identification number. And then in order to register for a NAID number, they would go to NAID registration tab on HUDHomestore.com, collect these 6 documents. But HUD expects any broker with a NAID to recertify that NAID annually. And if they were to, although they do not expire them immediately, they have been known to go through the system and purge it of non-recertified NAIDs. If they were going to do that, and your NAID was not recertified, then you would need to recertify, and you and your agents would not be able to place bids until that NAID number is recertified. If you need to find out when your NAID is due for recertification, you can go to this NAID recertification tab and click on this check current NAID registration status. It will ask you for your EIN number, and then you click submit, and it will produce a pop-up that tells you when your NAID is due for recertification. If you do need to recertify, or you're a new broker looking to get NAID, you would collect these 6 documents, including the 1111 and the 1111A form, which are links here at the bottom of this box, and you would submit them to the Philadelphia Home Ownership Center, which manages Michigan. That address is 2 boxes down on the same page. I just want to point out 2 things about the 1111 form. Line 2B is for your EIN registered business name, right down to the INC, LLC, or whatever it may be. Line 9 is for your DBA if you have one. Do not put DBAs on line 2B. Now, once a broker has a NAID, they register that NAID on HUDHomestore.com as the primary broker. Then all the agents in that office can register for a bidder account under that NAID. A broker can only have 1 NAID number per state license. However, if you are a branch location, same owner, multiple locations, that broker can designate a assistant broker or broker in each of those locations to register for a branch NAID, and then each of those brokers are eligible to sign the contracts in that location. Bidder accounts. I mentioned that agents would register for a bidder account under their brokerage's NAID. If you do not have a bidder account, you cannot place HUD bids yet because you do not have a bidder account, go to HUDHomestore.com. Go to the top right-hand corner, it says register, and it offers 2 options, public and bidder. Make sure you click on bidder. Then you're going to put in your username and passwords. You're going to select your security questions. Then in section 3, you're going to fill out this top row regarding your broker's NAID, and then you're going to fill out this first column regarding your real estate license, and then you're going to fill out your contact information, put the privacy, put in the CAPTCHA code, and then click submit. And then you should get a pop-up that says your registration was successful, and you now have a HUD bidder account and can place HUD bids. You want to make sure your name shows in the top right-hand corner just to be sure. Now, those of you that may have already had a HUD bidder account, as you know, our real estate license all in Michigan expire on the same day, which this year was 2015, October 31st. If you have not done this yet, your broker has to do it for their primary broker account as well, and then all agents have to go back into their bidder account, and then in section 3, they have to remove the 2015 expiration date and put in the 2018 expiration date. This is if you already have a bidder account established. If you have not done this yet, you do have to update your expiration, and so does your broker that's registered to the NAID. If either one of you does not do this, and you go to place a HUD bid, it will tell you you cannot because your license is expired. So make sure both your broker and you have updated your expiration date for this year. If you have any questions about NAIDs, bidder accounts, broker accounts, or anything that we talked about so far, feel free to type them in. Hopefully I will be able to see them, which I might be able to, or Erica can interject with anybody who's asking a question, and we can certainly address those. Just keep in mind, if you're asking a specific question about a specific case or a specific instance, you may want to wait until the end of the course I probably won't be able to answer specific issues too clearly without being able to look them up anyway. Con Ed word number 3 is HUD, H-U-D, HUD. Please write down on your piece of paper Con Ed word number 3. If you're trying to obtain Con Ed today, you're going to need to enter these words in when we ask you to. So Con Ed word number 3 is HUD, H-U-D. Con Ed participation word number 3 is HUD. Con Ed word participation word number 3, HUD, H-U-D, HUD. Okay. HUDHomestore.com. I'm going to be speaking a lot about HUDHomestore.com, referencing a lot of the information that comes from HUDHomestore.com. I want to make sure everybody understands where I'm getting this information. This is a property details page on HUDHomestore.com. You can see that it has the HUD case number, it has the eligible bidders, bid submission deadline, and bid submission time remaining. It also has these 4 tabs here: property info, addendums, maps, and agent info. On this property info tab, it is a split screen. On the left-hand side, it has information regarding that property. On the right-hand side, it has listing information. So it will tell you the listing period, whether it's lottery, exclusive, or extended. It will tell you the list price. It will also tell you the FHA financing eligibility. In this case, it says IE, insured with escrow. And it'll also tell you the 203K eligibility, yes or no. What's no longer on this page is the FHA appraised value, and the repair escrow estimate is no longer showing on this page, and I'll go into more detail about that in a moment. Addendums tab. The Addendums tab has a lot of great information. It has all of our sales contract packages. It has our selling broker handbook. It'll have any POS or city inspections that are seller required, as long as we have them back by this point. If it has any disclosures that are required, lead-based paint or flood zone, those will be posted on this Addendums tab as well. However, today I want to talk about the disclosure document and the PCR, Property Condition Report, PCR. On the left-hand side is the Property Condition Report. It is a moment-in-time inspection done by the field service manager when they receive this property into inventory. They go through all the main functions of the home, and they see how they operate, and they'll list whether they're functional or not functional, and any notes related to that functionality. A PCR is a moment-in-time inspection because it is done at the time the property is received into inventory, and these conditions can change over time without notice, so it is not a guarantee of function or dysfunction. One way a PCR is beneficial as well is for informational purposes to your buyer, obviously, but one way it could be beneficial is if your buyer comes to you and says that they have a pre-approval for a conventional mortgage and they want to place a bid on this home, you can pull up the PCR and see, for instance, on the plumbing. It says, no, it's not plumbing. Maybe it's missing 50 feet of plumbing. Maybe it just did not hold pressure in a pressure test. But you know that a field service manager is not going to turn on water at a property that they have already deemed not functional. And you know that a conventional mortgage requires an inspection with utilities activated. So you would be able to educate your buyer that they would not be able to purchase this property with the conventional mortgage for that reason. The listing disclosure document will list any disclosures that we do know about the property. HUD is exempt from full disclosure in Michigan because we do not occupy the properties before we sell them. However, anything that we do know about the property, we would list on the disclosure document. Most often, you're going to see the FEMA flood zone information, and you're going to see that the financing is subject to the buyer's appraisal. But should we have had a failed transaction where the well and septic failed and a report was provided to us, then we would post that on the disclosure document as well. Or if we had a failed transaction where the lead-based paint came in over $4,000 to stabilize, we would post that on the disclosure document as well. If it's a manufactured home with missing HUD tags, we would note that in the disclosure. So anything that we would know about the property, we would post into the disclosure document. What's no longer on this disclosure document is the bottom half of the page, where it used to list repair escrow items and repair escrow estimates. Maps tab is pretty self-explanatory. Map location of where the property is located. Agent Info tab. Agent Info tab will tell you who the asset manager is for that property and their contact information, who the field service manager is for that property and their contact information, as well as the listing broker and their contact information. If you need to reach any party to that property, you can find their information on the Agent Info tab. So, per Mortgagee Letter 2015-17, which was issued in September of 2015, HUD no longer provides the appraised value on HUDHomestore.com, nor any listing reports or disclosure documents posted on the Addendums tab of HUDHomestore.com. Effective for all endorsements, including pipeline applications, on or after 9/14/15, Mortgagee Letter 2015-17 eliminates the use of the list price of the HUD REO property in determining the maximum mortgage amount. Previously, there was a formula that lenders could use to determine the maximum financeable amount for a property. It included averaging 3 different amounts, one of them being the list price. That is no longer the case per this Mortgagee Letter. The maximum allowable financing is based solely on the lender's appraisal. HUD does not provide a copy of the appraisal, which is obtained for our marketing purposes only. If a purchaser is securing financing, their lender will take appropriate steps to determine if they must obtain an appraisal, including reviewing that Mortgagee Letter. All appraisals obtained by the lender are at the purchaser's expense. The purchaser must pay in cash the difference between the bid amount and the appraised value. Purchasers should discuss all possible financing options with their lender to determine the product that is best suited for them. HUD does not renegotiate price once a bid has been accepted. So if you were to bid $50,000 and your appraisal comes back at $40,000, HUD does not negotiate price once a bid has been accepted. So if a purchaser wishes to renegotiate the price of a home, the contract must be canceled. The property may be offered to a backup bidder in the system if there is one, or put back on the market, available for all bidders in accordance with the listing period to which the property returns. This is part of the Mortgagee Letter as well. I'm not going to have you write that down or memorize it. You can certainly look up the Mortgagee Letter, but it's just to show you that there is a little table that shows what the policy is, what the existing requirements were and are, and then what the revised requirements are for this particular Mortgagee Letter. Okay, the Con Ed word number 4 is website. W-E-B-S-I-T, Con Ed word number 4 is website. If you're looking to obtain Con Ed today, please write down word number 4 as website, and we will ask you in a few moments to enter these words in order to receive your certificate. So Con Ed word number 4 is website. Website. W-E-B-S-I-T-E, website. Con Ed word number 4 is website. Word number 4, website. Okay, who is an owner-occupant? An owner-occupant is a buyer purchasing a property as their primary homesteaded residence for at least 12 months after the close of escrow and has not purchased a HUD home as an owner-occupant within the past 24 months. So if your buyer purchased a home as an owner-occupant, lived in it 14 months, and then sells it and goes to place a bid on another HUD home, even if they are truly an owner-occupant, they would have to follow the investor guidelines until that 24th month passes. You'll want to make sure your buyer is telling you the truth as much as possible about their owner-occupant status. I say that because buyers, local listing brokers, and selling brokers can all be investigated by HUD for this infraction. An owner-occupant has to sign an owner-occupant affidavit. An owner-occupant affidavit is a federal document. Falsifying a federal document is a crime. It's punishable by up to $250,000 and or 2 years in prison. So I always tell agents, and this is my own personal preference, and I'm not going to guarantee it will get you out of an investigation, but the first thing a buyer is going to say if they're caught doing this is, my agent didn't tell me. So I always suggest to agents, if you are skeptical about your buyer's owner-occupant status, then write up a few lines, just a couple sentences on your company letterhead that says something along the lines of, my agent explained to me the owner-occupant requirements and ramifications, and I hereby stand by my owner-occupant status, and have them sign it. At least you have something. If it comes down to an investigation, at least you have something that states, my agent explained to me. I'm not going to guarantee it gets you out of an investigation, but in my opinion, it could only help. Okay, Con Ed word number 5 is owner, as an owner-occupant. Owner, O-W-N-E-R. Word number 5 is owner. O-N-E-R. If you're trying to obtain Con Ed today, write down the word owner. O-W-N-E-R. Owner. Word number 5 is owner. Word number 5, owner. I've now given you the first 5 words of 17 Con Ed participation words. Hopefully you have written them all down. Erica is going to issue a quiz to ask you to type in those first 5 words. I don't see it on my screen, Erica, so can you let me know when you have issued that, so I can just give them a couple minutes to type that in before I move on? Erica, have you issued that by chance yet?
Yes, Amy, they're taking the test. 43% of the students have submitted it.
Okay, I'll give it just one more minute here, and then I'll go ahead. They can still type in as I continue to talk.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you. Okay, so you should be typing your first 5 Con Ed words into the quiz so that we can record your participation for the 2 hours of Con Ed that you'll receive today. Now I'm going to go through the HUD home process in somewhat of a bullet point format, and I'm going to fill it in with the Buyer Select program. The Buyer Select program is about 3 years old in Michigan now, and it basically says that HUD no longer has HUD designated closing agents, and that a buyer will now have to select any state licensed title company upon bid acceptance to close their transaction, and that title company will close both sides of the transaction. So prior to listing, the field service manager, the FSM, will inspect the property and ensure that it's ready to list. BLB Resources will order an inspection, and as is FHA appraisal for our marketing purposes only. And then the local listing broker, the LLB, will list the property in the MLS. After the property is listed, a licensed broker agent will show the property. HUD registered selling broker will submit bids electronically via HUDHomestore.com, and then BLB Resources will review those bids for acceptability, and brokers for accepted offers will be notified via HUDHomestore.com. If your bid is accepted, your buyer now must select any state licensed title company to close the transaction. There is now a buyer select addendum in the sales contract package to designate this company, and this addendum must be completed and submitted with your sales contract package to BLB Resources within the 2 business days allotted. This addendum includes EMD instructions and a statement that the buyer agrees that the EMD is now being held by the local listing broker company and deposited into their trust account upon contract ratification. Because the EMD is being held by the local listing broker company, please make sure you make a copy of that EMD, because a copy must be included in your sales contract package sent to BLB Resources. The EMD requirements have not changed. They still must be in the form of a cashier's check, money order, or other certified funds with no termination or expiration provision. They are now made payable to the local listing broker company assigned to that property. And then the original EMD check must be delivered to the local listing broker assigned to that property within 2 business days of bid acceptance. And then a copy of that EMD must be included in your sales contract package submitted to BLB Resources within 2 business days of bid acceptance. And then upon contract ratification, BLB Resources will instruct that local listing broker that they can now deposit that EMD into their trust account within 48 hours. The selling agent and the listing agent will receive an email from BLB Resources with EMD instructions. However, since you have to collect that EMD prior to placing your bid on HUDHomestore.com, if you have any question on how it should be made out, where it should be made out to, or where it should be delivered upon contract acceptance, feel free to contact that local listing broker directly for clarification, or you're welcome to contact BLB Resources for that clarification. The EMD amount is based on the sales price. So if the property sells for if the property sells for $50,000 or less, the EMD is $500. If the property sells for $50,001 or more, the EMD is $1,000. For vacant lots, the EMD is 50% of the list price, and for good neighbor next door properties, it's 1% of the list price, not to be less than $500 and not to be more than $2,000. These amounts are not negotiable. So if your buyer is scheduled to pay a $500 EMD, but they want to pay a $1,200 EMD, they cannot. They must follow this schedule. EMD must be certified funds without cancellation or termination provision. It is now made out to the local listing broker company assigned to that property. It should be for the correct amount based on the sales price, and it should also include these 3 pieces of information. These can be handwritten or typed, it does not matter, but it should have the buyer's name, the FHA case number, and the street address of the property being purchased. Once our sales team receives your sales contract package in our office, we're going to first look for that buyer select addendum and make sure it's filled out correctly and completely. And we're going to look to see if that title company already has a HUD title ID number. A title company must have a HUD title ID number in order to do HUD business. As I mentioned, this program is about 3 years old now, so any title company in your area that was interested in doing HUD business probably already has a HUD title ID number. However, if they do not, or if they're a new company that just pops up into town and that's the company your buyer selected, they can get a HUD title ID number, but you just have to submit 2 pieces of supporting identification with your sales contract package. And those 2 pieces of supporting documentation will be a copy of their E&O insurance and a copy of their state license. Then we will supply all 3 documents over to HUD, and within an hour or 2 they will come back with a HUD title ID number for that title company. Once they have a HUD title ID number, you should not have to submit the supporting documentation any further. This is what the buyer select closing agent addendum looks like, all the information about the EMD, where it's being held and where it's being deposited, all the parts that need to be filled out, and then the signatures and dates required. And just on a side note, in a HUD sales contract package, any place where it asks for a signature appears, there must be a correlating date to that signature, or it's a correction kickback. There's also another 4-page document in the sales package that you download. And this 4-page document is a HUD document. It's a HUD closing instruction and certification addendum. Although it's 4 pages, only 2 sections need to be filled out when you submit it to BLB Resources. And the 2 sections that need to be filled out are the very top of page 1. The very top of page 1 asks for the FHA case number, the property address, and the buyer or buyer's names. And then the very bottom of page 4. The very bottom of page 4 is a signature section. It wants the signature of the title rep, their printed name, the title company name, their state license number, their HUD ID number if they have one yet, email, telephone, and date. This signature is the only signature in a HUD sales contract package that does not need to be wet. This one can be a faxed or emailed signature, but these 2 sections must be completed when you send it into BLB Resources. The pages in between will have a lot of information that you and your title company will not know at that time, so they do not need to be filled in. Okay, after contract ratification, ratified contract will be sent to the buyer select closing agent. The local listing broker will deposit the EMD into their trust account. The buyer will arrange with the selling broker to conduct a home inspection, which is optional but recommended. And then the buyer will finalize their financing. Closing. Either the sale closes at the closing agent's office or a mutually negotiated location. The title is transferred to new owner, and the buyer is responsible for rekeying the property after the close of escrow. This is something you may want to inform your buyers of as they're interested, at the beginning of their interest in a HUD home, that there is no rekey built into the process. They are responsible for rekeying the property after the close of escrow. That's at this time when the local listing broker will remove the signage from the property. How do I show a HUD home? HUD homes are vacant and rekeyed to 1 of 6 HUD home keys. There are now a total of 8 keys in a HUD set, 6 HUD home keys, and 2 padlock keys. To purchase HUD keys, you will need to go to any local listing broker office that lists homes for HUD, and you can purchase the set of 8 keys for approximately $12. You will need to provide them with a business card, and they will look up your license on LARA to make sure that it is active with no penalties. Just keep in mind that there is a responsibility in purchasing and owning HUD keys. And part of that responsibility includes that all purchasers, inspectors, contractors, and lenders, pretty much anybody going to that property on behalf of your buyer, must be accompanied by a licensed broker or agent for the duration of their visit. You cannot go and open the door and come back a couple hours later and lock it back up. You cannot give your HUD keys to anybody. You must accompany all visitors to that property for the duration of their visit. There's also a sign-in sheet on the counter. That sign-in sheet is for you. It's for anybody that walks through that accessible door. If you walk through the accessible door, sign in on the sign-in sheet. HUD does not make you schedule appointments to see their homes, but they do request you sign in on the sign-in sheet. We use it in multiple ways. We use it to know traffic through a given home. We also use it in change of condition. If an agent goes to a property and sees that the hot water tank is missing, yet the PCR indicated it was present, then we may go to the that was there 2-3 days before and say, was the hot water tank there when you were there? Oh yeah, we looked at it. It was fine. Now we know a time frame in which that hot water tank went missing for investigation purposes. So please sign in on the sign-in sheet. Now I'm also going to mention Occupy Conveyances. Although this gets a little tricky, I just want you to be aware that if you see a property on the MLS and or on HUDHomestore.com that indicates it's an occupied conveyance, please understand that there is a tenant in that home with a month-to-month non-transferable lease with HUD. It means that if you are going to show that home, you do need to schedule an appointment through the local listing broker because they will have to schedule it with the tenant. It also means that if your buyer is going to place a bid on that home, they are choosing to purchase that home occupied, as HUD is not going to do any eviction processes before the close of escrow, and it will be up to the buyer to do in these cases after the close of escrow. So that's the deal with occupied conveyances. Okay. Word number 6. Actually, I think I got a little behind here. So word number 6 is overview, as in the HUD home process overview. O-V-E-R-V-I-E-W. Write down the word overview so that the next time we ask for you to enter them, you will have it. Word number 6 is overview. O-V-E-R-V-I-E-W, overview. If you're trying to obtain Con Ed today, please write down the word number 6, overview. Overview. Word number 6 is overview. And I'm actually going to go ahead and give you word number 7 since I got a little behind here. And word number 7 is keys, as in how to get HUD keys. K-E-Y-S. Word number 7 is keys. Write down the word number 7 for Con Ed participation. Keys. K-E-Y-S, keys. Word number 7 is keys. Okay. Back on track. Financing types. Insured, IN. These properties qualify for 203B financing and do not have a minimum property requirement repair, and may qualify for 203K financing, which is a rehabilitation loan for owner-occupants only. IE is insurable with escrow. These properties qualify for 203B with a repair escrow. They typically have a minimum property requirement repair of $5,000 or less, and the repair escrow is the buyer's financial responsibility. It's added to the FHA loan process and is never a credit to the buyer and does not apply if 203B financing is not available or utilized. So, if you have a $50,000 property and it's determined to have a $2,000 repair escrow, this means that the buyer is going to give that lender $2,000, and the lender is going to put that $2,000 into an escrow holdback account. And then after the close of escrow, the lender is going to issue payments to the contractors making those repair escrow items. And then the property would then be re-inspected for those items to then be insured by FHA. UI, uninsured. These properties do not qualify for 203B financing. Typically, they have minimum property requirement repairs that exceed $5,000 and may not meet any other guidelines for FHA financing. UK, these properties are uninsured but 203K eligible. These properties do not qualify for 203B financing but may qualify for 203K or 203K streamlined financing. If you're not familiar with 203K loans, you may want to get your local lender to take you to lunch and learn a little bit more about them, because they could save a HUD home transaction down the road. And I'll speak a little bit more about that when we talk about lead-based paint. Do I need a pre-qualification letter to submit a bid? The short answer is yes. You need at least a pre-qualification letter to submit your bid on HUDHomestore.com. This qualifies your buyer. But HUD recommends a pre-approval letter. And the reason why HUD recommends that is because for all non-FHA loan sales that are submitted with a pre-qualification letter, if that transaction ends up canceling down the road due to lender denial, then your buyer is only eligible for up to 50% of their EMD back. But for all non-FHA loan sales that are submitted with a pre-approval letter, Now if that transaction ends up canceling down the road due to lender denial, now your buyer is eligible for up to 100% of their EMD back. So while you can submit a bid with a pre-qualification, HUD does recommend a pre-approval. Your pre-qualification or pre-approval letter must be printed on lender letterhead, must be dated within the previous 30 days of submitting the bid, must have your buyer's name or names, must have the financing type identified, must have the loan officer contact information, and the loan amount on the letter must equal the bid amount. It can also be higher, but it must at least equal the bid amount. If your bid amount was $50,000 and your lender letter says $45,000, then our sales team is going to be looking for a proof of funds document for the other $5,000. So make sure the lender letter equals the bid, or that you are supplying that proof of funds and supporting documentation along with it. If it's a cash sale, proof of funds is required, and the proof of funds must be dated within the previous 30 days of submitting the bid, and it also must have the buyer or buyer's names on those proof of funds. You must have pre-qual, pre-approval, or proof of funds prior to placing your bid on HUDHomestore.com. Again, this is a buyer qualification item. Foreign purchasers. This information is new as of February last year. So previously, HUD allowed foreign purchasers to purchase HUD homes using a 9-digit or 10-digit number. Yeah, 9-digit number related to their identification. And most often that was the first 9 digits of their passport number. However, they have changed this as of February 2015, and foreign purchasers now must have a U.S. identifier to purchase a HUD home. The U.S. identifier must be a Social Security number, a tax identification number, or an employer identification number. Any bids or contracts submitted with any other number from a foreign purchaser are subject to cancellation. Now, if your buyer does have a U.S. identifier, an SSN, TIN, or EIN, and they do get a bid accepted, they can purchase with foreign funds. They just must submit a statement or letter from the foreign account, printed in English, shown in U.S. dollars, and dated within the previous 30 days of submitting the bid. And then you must also include a letter from the title company stating that the buyer will close with foreign funds. This letter must obtain the buyer or buyer's names and where the funds are coming from. So that is the new foreign investor or foreign purchaser information. So word number 8 is money. M-O-N-E-Y. Con Ed participation word number 8 is money. M-O-N-E-Y. Money. Money. If you're participating for Con Ed today, write down word number 8 as money. M-O-N-E-Y. Money. Money. M-O-N-E-Y. Word number 8 is money. M-O-N-E-Y. Money. Okay. How are bids submitted? Bids can only be submitted through HUD's website, HUDHomestore.com. Brokers must have an active name number. Broker and agent must be registered with bidder accounts on HUDHomestore.com. And then bids must be submitted by Central Time, 11:59, which is 12:59 Eastern Standard Time, by the bid deadline date. Lottery and Good Neighbor Next Door program. All uninsured and uninsured 203K properties are put into the lottery program for the first 7 days of their listing. All properties in designated revitalization areas are also put in the lottery for the first 7 days of their listing. These properties are only available to be bid on during the lottery period by HUD-approved nonprofit organizations, government entities, and Good Neighbor Next Door participants. Please keep in mind that HUD-approved nonprofits and government entities, once they go through HUD approval process, they receive their own aid and are able to place their own bids on HUDHomestore.com. A Good Neighbor Next Door participant will always need the use of a realtor to place their bid. Lottery properties are listed and sold exclusively through HUDHomestore.com and should not be found on the MLS. I say should not because I'm told that Cityside does list their lottery properties on the MLS. However, we, BLB Resources, do not allow our local listing brokers to list them on the MLS during the lottery period. Most MLSs have a stipulation that you cannot list a property on the MLS that is not available to the general public. Since we do not consider these available to the general public because it's a small population that is able to bid on them during that period, we do not list them on the MLS. Most MLSs have a stipulation that you cannot list a property on the MLS with zero commission, and HUD does not pay closing costs or commissions on lottery sales. Neither listing agent nor selling agent will receive a commission unless you sell the property to a Good Neighbor Next Door participant with a separate negotiated commission agreement between you and the buyer. And then your lender will need to know how to put that on the HUD 1 because it cannot go on as a commission. It would have to go on as a buyer expense. Now, when you are submitting a bid in the lottery period, so say you're submitting a bid in the lottery period, the first 7 days, you must submit a full price offer. If it's a $50,000 property, everybody submitting in that lottery period is submitting at $50,000, no more, no less. And then it's just that, a lottery. Random computer draw is going to select a winner, and they're going to verify their eligibility. If it turns out they're not eligible, they'll throw that bid out, and they'll select new from the remaining bids until they get an eligible bidder. Just keep in mind that the discount is only available in the lottery period. So nonprofits get 30%, government entities get 10%, and Good Neighbor Next Door participants get 50% off the list price. But that is only available in the lottery period, that first 7 days. So you will notice on HUDHomestore.com that if a property does not sell in lottery period, then it will move to exclusive period and add owner occupants. Government agencies, nonprofits, and Good Neighbor Next Door participants may still be able to place bids during the exclusive period, but now it's a regular transaction, no discount applies. The EMD for Good Neighbor sales is 1% of the list price, not to be less than $500, and not to be more than $2,000. The Good Neighbor Next Door program is defined as designated properties in revitalization areas available at 50% off the list price to officers, teachers, emergency medical techs, and firefighters. These properties must be located in the area or district where the Good Neighbor Next Door participant works or services. Buyer must meet HUD's eligibility requirements, which are also available on our website, blbresources.com, under the Agent Resource tab. Buyer signs a silent second mortgage for the discounted amount, which has no interest or payments due. So if it's a $50,000 property and your buyer turns out to be a verified Good Neighbor Next Door participant, they're going to come to closing with $25,000 in cash or financing. The other $25,000 is going to go on a silent second mortgage with no interest or payments due. And then if your buyer meets the 3-year occupancy requirement, then that silent second will be waived and dismissed. If they do not meet that 3-year occupancy requirement, they will be on the hook. They will be on the hook for the remaining sorry about that. They will be on the hook for the remaining portion of the other discounted amount. So if they meet the 3-year occupancy requirement, that other $25,000 is waived and dismissed. If they do not meet that 3-year occupancy requirement, they will be responsible for the prorated remaining portion of that other discounted amount. Additional addenda are required for these sales. Neither buyer nor his or her spouse may have owned a residential property in the year prior to placing a bid on the home intended to purchase, and neither buyer nor his or her spouse may have ever purchased under the Good Neighbor Next Door sales program. It is a once-in-a-lifetime offer. Okay, Erica, why don't we just take a minute? Well, actually, first, let me give word number 9. Word number 9 is programs. Programs, programs. Con Ed word number 9 is programs. Programs. Programs, programs. Word number 9 for Con Ed participation is programs. Word number 9, programs. Programs. Actually, I'll wait a few minutes on what I was going to address. Bids. How bids are reviewed. For insured and insured with escrow properties, owner-occupant bids received by the 10th day of the listing will be reviewed on the 11th day. If we accept a bid, that comes off the market pending. If we do not accept a bid, then we will continue taking owner-occupant bids and review them daily until a bid is accepted or until the 15th day. If we do not accept an owner-occupant by the 15th day, on the 16th day, bidding opens to all bidders, including investors, under the extended bid period. Uninsured and uninsured 203K properties, owner-occupants bids received by the 5th day of the listing will be reviewed on the 6th day. If we accept a bid on the 6th day, it's off the market pending. If we do not accept a bid on the 6th day, then it opens up to all bidders, including investors, for daily review until sold. Bids submitted on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and government holidays are now reviewed on the next business day as a group. So my next 3 slides are calendars to help illustrate this point, and hopefully it does that. But I'm also going to point out a discrepancy between the MLS and between HUDHomestore.com, and I'll explain this in my 3rd slide. So, or my 3rd calendar, I should say. So for insured and insured with escrow properties, my first calendar here is a normal calendar, nothing real hinky about it. Property is listed for sale, we collect bids for the first 10 days. On the 11th day, we review them. If we accept a bid, it comes off the market pending. If we do not accept a bid, we'll continue taking owner-occupant bids for daily review until sold or until the 15th day. In this case, these days are a weekend. So when we do come in on Friday, we will review Friday through Sunday's bids as a group. If we accept a bid, off the market pending. If we do not accept a bid, there's still one more day in exclusive bid period. If we do not accept an owner-occupant bid by the 15th day, on the 16th day, it changes to extended bid period, open to all bidders, including investors. My second calendar is when a bid review falls on the weekend. So now the property is listed for sale. We collect bids for the first 10 days. The 11th day is a Sunday. So when we come in on Monday, we are going to lump Sunday's bids in with the first 10 days. We're going to review them all as a group. If we accept a bid, off the market pending. If we do not accept a bid, we'll continue taking owner-occupant bids for daily review until sold or until the 15th day. If we do not accept an owner-occupant bid by the 15th day, on the 16th day, it opens to extended bid period, open to all bidders, including investors. My 3rd calendar is when a bid period changes over the weekend. So now, let's say the property is listed for sale, we collect bids for the first 10 days, review them on the 11th day. Let's say we don't accept a bid, we continue reviewing owner-occupant bids for daily review until sold or until the 15th day, but we do not accept a bid by the 15th day. Now on the 16th day, which is a Saturday in this calendar, the computer automatically turns over to extended bid period. In this case, when we come in on Monday, we will review Friday's bids first because this is part of exclusive bid period. An exclusive bid period is always reviewed before extended bid period. If we do not accept a bid out of exclusive bid period, then we will review Saturday and Sunday's bids in this situation as a group. Now the discrepancy that you'll see, if your bid period or bid review lands on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or government holiday, the MLS will state the actual day of the bid deadline. However, HUDHomestore.com, when it says bid deadline date, it's going to list the last day before the next bid review. So let's just, in this case, say the MLS says the bid review is on Saturday the 18th. but HUD, and let's just say Monday's a government holiday in this situation, then HUDHomestore.com is actually going to say that the bid deadline date is 11:59 on Monday of the government holiday, because the next bid review is Tuesday. Now, also in this situation is a scenario arises, and this is the only situation where the scenario arises, but because the computer programming takes into effect this bid period change over the weekend, you can actually have a bid in for your buyer on the 5th, or on this Friday under exclusive bid period for, say, $25,000. And then you can also submit a bid on either Saturday or Sunday for, say, $25,100. And that way your buyer will be reviewed in both bid reviews on Monday. If we accept a bid on a Friday, then we don't even get to review Saturday and Sunday's bids. But if we don't accept a bid on Friday, then they at least have a bid also in on Saturday or Sunday to be reviewed as a group on this Monday as well. This is the only scenario is when this bid period changes over the weekend, where you are allowed to have a bid in by the same buyer to the same property because they're under two different bid periods. How are bids accepted? Bids are accepted based on HUD's guidelines, which include considering the highest net to HUD, not necessarily the highest offering price. If somebody bids $97,300 with no closing costs and somebody bids $100,000 with 3% in closing costs, $97,300 could win the bid as the highest net to HUD. An owner-occupant can bid on more than one property at the same time. However, they will only receive one of those properties, and they will receive the one that is the highest net to HUD. So let's just say your buyer wants to bid on 4 different properties at the same time. Let's just say their bid review date is the same day. And let's even just say that they are the highest bidder on all 4 of those properties. They still will not get to choose which one they want. They will get the one that is the highest net to HUD. So they should like all 4 of them, or however many of them that they're going to bid on, should they do this. How will I be notified if my bid is accepted? Well, once BLB Resources accepts your bid, the selling agent who submitted the winning bid will receive an email from HUDHomestore.com. BLB Resources will also send an email to the listing agent and the selling agent with EMD instructions. Currently, all other bidders are not notified. However, if you placed a bid on a property and something happened to it, you will be able to know by logging into your bidder account on HUDHomestore.com, bringing up that bid for review, and there will be a column called bid status, and there will be a code in that bid status to tell you what happened to that property. I just pulled these codes right off the FAQs on the website, but if it says AC, it's accepted, but you'll know that because you received the email. But if it says CA, 9.5 times out of 10, CA means your bid was too low, did not meet the minimum threshold set by HUD, and therefore it was canceled. If it says OBS, 9.5 times out of 10, your bid did meet the minimum threshold set by HUD, but it was not the highest, and therefore another bid was selected. And then once that selected bid goes under contract, OBS changes to OBC. You can also find bid results on HUDHomestore.com under the bid results tab. You put in a criteria and it produces a results list. Just keep in mind that the results lists are only winning bids. They will not, it does not produce all bids submitted for a property. It only produces the winning bid for all properties. Just keep in mind for this results list, this column here that has the bid amount, or I'm sorry, that has the dollar amount, this is already in net to HUD format. So commissions and closing costs have already been subtracted from the bid amount, and this is the net to HUD. So when your buyer calls you and says, well, we bid $13,500, how did $13,000 beat out $13,500? Because this is already in net to HUD format. The other question I get a lot is, how did this person submit their bid before the bid period opened? This date open column means the date our bid manager opened the bids for review, not the date that the bidding opened. Okay, so word number 10 in the ConEd series is bid, B-I-D. If you're trying to obtain Con Ed today, please write down word number 10, bid, B-I-D, bid. B-I-D, bid. Word number 10 is bid. Word number 10 is bid, B-I-D. Word number 10, B-I-D, bid. Word number 10 for Con Ed participation, bid. Okay, how much does HUD pay towards closing costs and commissions? HUD is still paying up to 3% towards a buyer's closing costs. This must be negotiated in the electronic bid when you place it, but all costs will be paid in full compliance with the guidelines provided in HUD Notice H 2003-02. I mentioned the notice because it is searchable on the website. I caution agents on two bidding things here, and this is my own personal opinion really, but I caution agents in requesting a full blind 3%. And what I mean is if that property is $100,000, you can just break down $3,000 on line 5 and not think twice about it. It's allowable. But I caution you in doing so because HUD is only going to pay what's actual and allowable to that transaction. If that turns out to be $2,100, they aren't really paying $2,100, and they just made a $900 profit, so to speak. Thank you very much. But you could have also lost that bid by $900 because you asked for more than you needed. So I always caution agents in considering what HUD automatically pays, consider what HUD may pay, and then ask for a closing cost amount that's feasible to your buyer but keeps your bid competitive. The other bid tip I give, and this is again my own personal opinion, is I do not recommend you place bids in even amounts. 25,000, 25,700. I recommend you place bids more like 25,117. And the reason I say that is because I've seen bids won by $1. And also if there's a highest matching net to HUD, say 2 or 3 bidders bid the same amount and the net to HUD is the same, it's a random computer draw that selects the winner. Don't leave it up to the computer. Try to win it by the $1. Commissions. HUD pays up to 6% in commissions, up to 3% to the selling agent, and 3% to the listing agent. I say up to 3% to the selling agent. Commission is negotiable if you so wish, up to 3%. This is one way selling agents, if the buyer does need to take the full 3% in closing costs, they may negotiate the commission down to 2.5%, 2.5 or 2.7% versus the full 3% to keep the bid competitive. Also, sometimes agents will say take a $29.97 commission instead of a $3,000 commission to make that amount come out uneven for the final net to HUD. The listing agent's commission is not negotiable. It's 3%. There are numerous properties on HUDHomestore.com as well as on the MLS that are designated as $12.50 minimum commissions. This means that each agent is going to receive a minimum commission of $12.50. And what basically designates a property to be eligible for the $12.50 commission is the list price. If the list price starts at or below $41,667, then the commission is $12.50 to each agent. If it goes through a formal price reduction and ends up at or below $41,667, then the commission structure will change to the $12.50 minimum commission. The only time that does not hold true is when the bid accepted goes below that $41,667 due to the bidding process. So say the list price is $42,000, but through the bidding process, HUD ends up accepting a bid at $39,000, then it is still 3% and not $12.50 when it happens due to the bidding process. What is automatically paid by HUD? HUD pays for proration of property taxes, HOA fees, and utility bills, usage-only utility bills. Condominiums or HOA transfer fees or document fees, such as a status letter. HUD does not pay off special assessments, so the purchaser will assume the balance due on the day of closing. And HUD does not pay for a lender's certification. So now under the Buyer Select program, the buyer is responsible to pay the closing agent fees. HUD will only pay a portion of the closing agent fees. If the buyer includes closing costs on line 5 at the time of bid submission, and there are sufficient funds remaining on this line for that fee to be paid. If there are no closing costs on line 5, the buyer will be responsible to pay all closing fees. Other closing costs that may be paid by HUD, I say they may be paid by HUD because I'm taking this right off the HUD Notice 2003-02 notice, but it's up to your title company to take this notice and all the factors involved and apply it to your line 5. It's going to matter whether they're cash or financing, and it's going to matter whether they're investor or owner or occupant. But these are the items that they would try to apply to your line 5. Credit report, up to $20. Flood certification if required by lender. Home inspection up to $200. Homeowner's warranty up to $250. Loan discount points up to 3% to buy down the rate with a certification from lender. Loan origination fee up to 1% on FHA conventional, up to 1.5% on 203K loans. Other closing costs that may be paid by HUD, these are owner-occupant only, but it will matter whether they're cash or financing. A survey if required by lender, title insurance coverage for lender, and title insurance coverage for owner. When it comes to transfer taxes and fees in Michigan, HUD is exempt. HUD does not pay transfer taxes and fees. These are exempt in a HUD transaction. Commission restrictions. Only licensed NAID registered real estate brokers and their agents can receive commissions on HUD home sales. Commissions entered by the selling broker on the electronic bid must match the commissions on your sales contract that was submitted to BLV Resources. That said, everything on your paper contract must match your electronic bid. If you need to change information, say you need to add a secondary purchaser or remove a secondary purchaser or change your financing, my suggestion is you fill out the sales contract package exactly as you submitted your electronic bid, and then include the change form and supporting documentation for that change with your sales package, and then we will make the change simultaneous with the contract ratification. Both closing costs and commission amounts must be shown on the contract and be deducted from the purchase price, reducing the net to HUD. Okay, so word number 11 in the Con series is close, as in closing a transaction. Close, C-L-O-S-E, close. Word number 11 for Con Ed participation is close, C-L-O-S-E, close. Word number 11 is close, C-L-O-S-E, close, to close a HUD transaction. Word number 11 is close. Okay, Erica, if you want to issue the next quiz to enter the last 6 words, words 6 through 11 of the 17 words, you can go ahead and issue that, and then your participants, the participants can enter those 6 words in for their Con Ed participation.
Okay, perfect. The test has been launched. Can everyone view the test now?
Eric, also, I don't know if you've been receiving any questions into the chat bar or question bar. If you have, you can go ahead and let me know what those are. We can address those too.
Okay, actually, we haven't been receiving any questions, but students, if you have questions, please feel free to ask them.
Okay. So I'm just going to give you a minute here to fill in those last 6 words into your quiz, and then we'll go ahead and move on to how you can cancel your client's bid.
We have half of the test submitted already.
Okay. Just give it another 30, 45 seconds, and then I'll go ahead and continue on. Okay, so there will be 6 more words in the next section For Con Ed participation, we'll have a total of 17 words for Con Ed participation, and once we verify all 17 words for each participant, we will email you a Con Ed certificate for today's participation for 2 hours. Okay, how can I cancel my client's bid? Say you have a bid placed and the bid review is on this Monday. Anytime between now and Sunday night, your buyer tells you they are no longer interested in that property, they do not want it, they will not purchase it. HUD encourages you to go into your bidder account, pull up the bid for review, and withdraw the bid if at any time before bid review you know your buyer is no longer interested. Also, anytime before bid review, you can, anytime between now and Sunday night, say you can go in and open up that bid for review and modify it. You can add a secondary purchaser or remove a secondary purchaser or change your financing or up the bid by $5,000 or lower the bid by $5,000. You can do those modifications anytime before bid review as well. Now, after bid acceptance, so say you get the email that says your bid has been accepted, you call your buyer and you say, congratulations, you won the property. And at that time he says, no, I don't want this property, I'm not interested in it, I found this one I like better. Then you can do one of two things. You can either just not send in your signed sales contract package within the 2 business days, and the contract will automatically be canceled. Or what we prefer is that you do submit a cancellation form, even if it's not signed by the buyer, but that says you do not intend to send in your signed sales contract package, and then we can move to the backup bidder immediately or relist the property on HUDHomestore.com immediately. Now say it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks down the road. Now your buyer wants to cancel due to unsatisfactory home inspection or due to lender denial or any other reason your buyer now wants to cancel. Now you have to submit the signed cancellation form. The reason is supporting documentation. Supporting documentation in a cancellation is crucial. If no documentation is submitted with your cancellation, the EMD is forfeited. So if it's a lender denial, you have to submit the lender denial with the cancellation. If it's an unsatisfactory home inspection, you have to submit the unsatisfactory home inspection from a third-party inspection company, and then you have to circle the items that are unsatisfactory, and they have to be items that were not previously disclosed in our disclosure or PCR document. Just please keep in mind with proper documentation and reason, most often an owner-occupant EMD would be returned. However, an investor's EMD is never returned. But if you there's very, very minute reasons why an investor would get their EMD back. But most often, with proper documentation, an owner-occupant would be considered for EMD return. When BLB Resources receives a cancellation request, we will process that within 2 business days. I keep mentioning blbresources.com. It's now called Agent Resource tab. It looks similar to this, but it has all of our contract packages. It has all the request and change forms that you might need for your contract. It has the Good Neighbor Next Door program and all the eligibility requirements and notices, as well as it also has a closing agent section. Many lenders contact us, and sometimes they try to get a hold of us over the weekend, looking for our redelegation of authority letter. This is the letter that indicates who in our company has the authority to sign on behalf of HUD. That's right here on our website under the closing agent information documents. There's also the field service manager forms. These are utility activation requests. If you're going to have utilities turned on at a HUD property, you first must fill out this form for the appropriate field service manager assigned to that property and submit it to them with a check for either $150 or $180, whatever it says on the form. And this is a rewinterization fee. It means that if they do grant the water to be turned on and that water is pushed through the pipes and all the antifreeze is pushed through the pipes, they have to go back to the property and put in new antifreeze. And that is what that $150 to $180 fee is for. If they do not approve the water to be turned on, or the water never does get turned on and the property is never dewinterized, then you can ask for that fee back. I I just want to be clear that I cannot tell you how many times ASUNS is getting Tidewater forms, Tidewater is getting Sigma forms. You must download the form for the FSM assigned to your property and submit it to that field service manager. Again, that information is on the agent info tab as well as on the cover sheet of the ratified contract that you receive back from our office. Once you have approval from our field service manager to turn on a utility, then you can go to that utility company and schedule the turn on. If they decline utilities to be turned on, that is the final say-so. That is the end of the road. They are the highest authority on what utilities can and cannot be turned on. If they decline a utility being turned on, please do not turn it on. You and your buyer will be held financially responsible for any damages caused by utilities being turned on without permission. There is usually a very good reason why utilities are declined for turn on, and that means that if it didn't hold pressure, there's a leak. We just recently, HUD did charge an agent and a buyer because they turned on water that was declined for approval, and it sprayed water all over the place and flooded a certain area of the property, and they charged them for that cleanup and damages for that decision. So please, if you are declined to turn on a utility, do not turn it on. Okay, backup offers. We hold backup offers where the bid meets the minimum threshold set by HUD but was not the highest. In the event that the original bid cancels, then the backup bidder would be notified to say, would you like to reinstate this contract? In my opinion, though, there is no harm to mark that box to be a backup bidder. And the reason being is you are under no obligation. If you receive that communication, you can say, no, my buyer's moved on, they're bought another house, they're not interested in that home anymore for whatever reason, and then we'll either move on to the next backup bidder or we will relist the property in HUDhomestore.com. The downside of being a backup bidder is you do not receive any communication that states that you're a backup bidder for that property or that you're backup bidder number 1 or backup bidder number 7. So that's the up and the down of being a backup bidder. Okay, word number 12 in the Con Ed participation series, cancel, as in how to cancel your bid. C-A-N-C-E-L, cancel. Word number 12 in the Con Ed series of 17 words is cancel. C-A-N-C-E-L, cancel. Word number 12 is cancel. Word number 12 is cancel. C-A-N-C-E-L, cancel. The very foundation of the HUD program is their as-is policy. HUD makes no representations or warranties concerning the condition of a property and will make no repairs to the property. HUD makes no repairs to a property before the close of escrow, and HUD will not allow a buyer to make any repairs to the property before the close of escrow. HUD homes are sold as is. Okay, word number 13 in the Con Ed series is policy, as in as is policy. Word number 13 in the Con Ed series is policy. P-O-L-I-C-Y, policy, as in HUD's as is policy. Word number 13 for Con Ed participation, policy. Number 13, policy. P-O-L-I-C-Y, policy. Okay, buyer's home inspection. BLB Resources recommends the purchaser retain the services of a home inspection company. The purchaser has 15 days from contract ratification to conduct a home inspection. Utilities may be turned on for up to 72 hours for buyer's inspection at buyer's expense. Deposits and fees for activating utilities may be required. That generally refers to the $150 or $180 rewinterization fee. So this 15 days from contract ratification is not a cancelable deadline. It is a request. HUD requests that if you are going to do a home inspection on a property, that you do it in the first portion of the contract, preferably the first 15 days, rather than waiting till day 20, 30, 35, and possibly causing your buyer an extension fee should there be some issues or scheduling issues and it can't get underway in time. So we request that you do your inspections within 15 days from contract ratification. This 72 hours for utilities, anybody that needs to see those utilities operating must be scheduled in that 72-hour time frame. So if the lender needs to see it and a contractor needs to see it, or whoever needs to see those utilities working, they must be scheduled in that 72-hour time frame. Prior to the close of escrow, buyers may not do home improvements, repairs, or landscape modifications. They may not occupy the property in any way. They may not change any locks on the property, and they may not store personal property on the premises. These actions are strictly prohibited. A breach of contract, grounds for cancellation, forfeiture of EMD, and even a selling broker's NAID can be suspended for this infraction. So whether you have to print this page out on the selling broker handbook and have your buyer's initial and sign it, or whether you want to type this up on your own letterhead when you have a buyer that's interested in a HUD home and have them initial and sign that, you may want to do that because, again, the first thing they're going to say when they're caught doing any one of these items is my agent didn't tell me. So if you have something that shows that you did tell them and you did explain to them that they could not do any of these things, then that is to your benefit, because HUD will hold a buyer and an agent, if they cannot prove that the agent did not tell them, financially responsible for any of these damages. I have two examples. I have an example of a buyer that wanted to store new windows in the garage of a property so that he can install them after the close of escrow. However, a field service manager goes to the property to do their inspection. That is considered debris, and they will remove it from the property. So do not store that personal property on the premises. Also, we had a situation where a buyer accessed a home, started ripping up floorboards in the kitchen so he could repair the leaky pipe. In that case, the agent could not prove that she did or did not tell the buyer he could not do that, and therefore both the buyer and the agent were held financially responsible for that vandalism. It is vandalism because that buyer does not own the property till after the close of escrow. Okay, extension policy. What is the extension policy? Extensions, if granted, are for 15-day increments only. Extension checks must be made payable to the U.S. Department of HUD. A written request for extension must be received no later than 5 days before the contract expires. The extension requests must be submitted to BLB Resources along with supporting documentation, again, supporting documentation being very crucial, such as the lender status letter and the applicable fee in the form of a cashier's certified check or money order. We are located at 12 and Telegraph in the Galleria Office Center in Southfield. I have that address is up on the screen there. You can see that. Extensions will be for a period of 15 calendar days at $10 a day, $150 per extension, regardless of the purchase price. If the extension is approved and the sale fails to close for any reason, the extension fee is forfeited, even if all or a portion of the EMD is returned. On the flip side of that, if you pay for a 15-day extension and only use 6 days, the remaining portion is refunded on the HUD 1. May I give my buyer a key at closing? No, we do not give our HUD keys to anybody. You can meet your buyer at the property. You can unlock the door, at which time they should have a locksmith present to rekey or change all the locks on the premises. This is for their own safety and security. I cannot tell you how many people have HUD keys, most of them being authorized, some of them not being authorized. So you best let your buyer know early in a HUD transaction that they will be responsible for this task after the close of escrow. Okay, word number 14 in the Con Ed series is inspection, as in home inspection, or INSPECTION, inspection. Word number 14 for Con Ed credit today, 14 of 17, is inspection. INSPECTION, inspection. Word number 14 is inspection. Number 14, inspection. Word number 14 of 17, inspection. Okay, now we're going to go through the HUD sales contract line by line. I'm going to point out a couple changes that have been made. But when you do a HUD transaction with a BLB asset, we recommend that you use the sales contract package on our website, blbresources.com. And the reason why we suggest you use this contract is because it's a package. It has multiple pages of the package all in one document. It can be filled out electronically. It also has this handy-dandy pre-fill page. If you fill out this entire page with the appropriate information, it will populate the remaining documents with this pertinent information. Just please take care in filling out this page, because you will either have it all right or you will have it all wrong. And we want you to have it all right, so make sure you take care in filling out the pre-fill page. It also has this handy-dandy checklist to make sure you have everything in your sales contract package before you send it off to BLB Resources. It has a one-page sales contract, which has yellow highlights, initial here flags, and sign here flags to make sure that nothing is missed. It has a one-page condition of sale page, which has 2 sign lines and 2 sign here flags, because it must be signed by all purchasers, and we want to make sure that it is not missed. The very top right-hand corner of the sales contract is the HUD case number. Please make sure it is the correct HUD case number. You would not believe how many corrections go out for the wrong HUD case number, so please make sure that is correct. Line 1 is for the buyer or buyer's names, John Doe, and Mary Doe. The line behind that is the complete address of the property being purchased, including the county. Do not forget the county. It is a correction kickback. Line 2, there's been a change with line 2, but line 2 is for how the buyer is taking, the style in which the buyer is taking title. In this case, it says John Doe, a single man. If your buyer is going to take title in one of these ways shown on the screen here, it will most likely be approved by HUD, because they often approve these. If your buyer is taking title in a way that's not listed here, a correction and additional documentation may be required. The change that has happened to line 2 is it used to be a correction kickback if this version of buyer's name did not match that reference on line 1 exactly. But now HUD says the buyer can take title in any version of their name they would like. So line 1 can say John Doe, and line 2 can say Jonathan Paul Doe or John P. Doe, or whatever version of their name they would like to take title in. Line 3, the box out to the right, is for your bid amount. The line behind that is your EMD amount. And then the line behind that is for the local listing broker assigned to that property that's holding the EMD. Line 4 is the financing. If it's FHA 203B financing, you're going to mark the FHA box, the 203B box, and move on to line 5. If it's FHA 203B with the repair escrow, you're going to mark the FHA box, the 203B repair escrow box, and then you're going to come down and mark this box here that says said mortgage involves a repair escrow amounting to, and you're going to actually write TBD or to be determined on this line, because you're not going to know that amount until your lender gets the appraisal back. You're going to have to write TBD or to be determined on this line. If this line says 0 or it's blank, there will be a correction issued. So you must mark the box and write TBD or to be determined. If it's 203K, you're going to mark the FHA box, the 203K box, and move on to line 5. If it's cash, conventional, or other, you're going to mark this last box here, and then when you print it off to put it in your envelope, we would request that you circle cash, conventional, or other, whichever applies. This is not a correction kickback, it is just a request. Line 5 is going to be your closing cost amount, whatever you ask for in your electronic bid, up to 3% of the purchase price. Line 6A is going to be your selling agent commission, and line 6B is going to be your listing agent commission. So line 6A is going to be 3% or $12.50 or up to 3%, whatever you negotiated it to be. Line 6B is going to be 3% or $12.50 based on the transaction type. Line 7 is your net to HUD, which is basically line 3 minus line 5 minus line 6A minus line 6B, and you have line 7, your net to HUD. Line 8 is your purchaser type. If you've downloaded the owner-occupant package, owner-occupant is going to automatically be checked. If you downloaded the investor package, investor is going to automatically be checked here. So make sure you download the appropriate contract package for your buyer type. 9, if you've downloaded the owner-occupant sales package, line 9 is going to be filled in with 45 days and not be editable. If you've downloaded the investor package, then it's going to be filled in with 30 days and not be editable. As investors only have 30 days to close a transaction, whereas owner-occupants have up to 45 days to close a transaction. The line behind that is going to be the title company your buyer selected to close the transaction. Line 10 is the backup offer. If seller does not accept this offer, seller may or may not hold such offer as a backup. And then 11 is lead-based paint. If the property was built prior to 1978, check lead-based paint addendum is attached. If the property is built 1978 or later, check is not attached. And then the box for other addendum is attached must always be checked. Line 12 often gets missed because it's in a shaded area, but hopefully our yellow highlight and an initial here flag will help, because all purchasers must initial on or near this line. They can be a little bit sloppy about it. They can go above or below the line with some cursiveness, but they can go nowhere near the seller initial line over here, or it is a correction kickback. Line 13, now we need the wet signature of the buyer or buyers for this property, and we prefer that to be in blue ink. And if you filled out the pre-fill page, it will have this information typed in, John Doe, Mary Doe. It will have those respective social security numbers. You must have at least one buyer phone number, or it's a correction kickback, the date in which they signed this contract, and then this address here is their current dwelling, where they currently reside. Now we need the wet signatures. They can sign above their type name, next to their type name. Really, they can sign anywhere in this area up here, preferably in blue ink. They can just go nowhere near this line down here, or it's a correction kickback. Certification of broker. This information will match your broker's registration for their NAID number. If it is incorrect information, it's possible your broker needs to update or modify their NAID registration. This information here is your broker's EIN, and then the NAID number in which you submitted the bid, and then the broker's phone number here, and then your name, phone number, and email can all go on this line down here. Now we need the wet signature of the broker assigned to this NAID to sign on this line here, preferably in blue ink. This must be a wet signature. Signature stamps, DocuSign, e-signatures are currently not acceptable by HUD at this time. So, a reminder, your contract package must include the following. It must have the earnest money deposit check. It must have the original EMV must be given to the local listing broker, but a copy must be in your sales contract package. Your state agency disclosure form, your Michigan's buyer select closing agent addendum, which is part of the sales contract package, and the HUD closing instruction and certification addendum. These are just a few of the reminders. Make sure you check that sales package verification checklist before you send in your package to BLB Resources. Okay, lead-based paint. Homes built prior to 1978 are required to have a lead-based paint disclosure. Environmental Protection Agency brochure will need to be given to your buyer. The field service manager will conduct a lead-based paint inspection and create a lead-based paint inspection report for purchasers using FHA financing. And then a buyer must receive and sign the lead-based paint disclosure addendum as part of the contract. This is what the lead-based paint disclosure addendum looks like, all the parts that need to be marked and filled in and signed and dated. Just keep in mind that when people see short little lines, they tend to want to put an extra check mark when the instructions ask for initials on these lines. And also it asks for the initials and the signature of the selling broker. This document must be initialed and signed by the broker assigned to your name. This is a selling broker document, not the selling agent document. Lead-based paint with FHA financing, except for 203K. If deteriorated lead-based paint was identified and the cost estimate is less than $4,000 to repair, HUD will stabilize the lead-based paint prior to closing the sale and verify the stabilization has occurred to certify satisfactory results. If the cost estimate exceeds $4,000, HUD may cancel the transaction and return the EMD, or allow the buyer to amend their contract financing to FHA 203K or conventional. This is where knowing about a 203K loan could save a HUD transaction down the road, is if that stabilization comes in over $4,000. Now, if your buyer does change their financing for this reason or any other, they will have to complete a change of finance form, which has this disclosure indicated right on it. If a buyer changes from FHA insured financing to cash or other non-FHA financing after termite treatment and or lead-based paint stabilization has been completed, the buyer will be responsible for the cost of the termite treatment and or lead-based paint stabilization. Lead-based paint with a 203K loan, if deteriorated lead-based paint was identified, HUD will credit the buyer in the amount of the cost estimate to stabilize up to $4,000. The buyer must receive and sign the lead-based paint disclosure addendum as part of the contract. Lead-based paint with all other financing, buyer must receive and sign the lead-based paint disclosure addendum as part of the contract. Where do I deliver or mail my contract and addenda? If you have the winning bid. We are located at 12 and Telegraph in Southfield. This is our address on the screen and our toll-free phone number. If you two-day or overnight your sales package to us, please keep your receipt. If for some reason we don't receive it, which happens quite often actually, you will receive a warning email that says, we did not receive your sales contract package, so we will be canceling it. Will be means we did not do it yet, but we will within a couple hours if we don't hear from you. If you have your receipt that says, no, I sent it, I tried to get it to you in the time frame allotted, then we will certainly move forward and help you track that package down and move forward with it. We are also open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you drive it to us, somebody from my sales team will review the entire package with you before you leave. Just please do not come at 10 to 5 and expect that service. Please come with enough time to allow our sales team to be able to do that for you. Okay, we're in the home stretch here, but let's go ahead and actually, I'm a little backed up on my words as well. I got a little carried away there. So word number 15 is contract, as in the HUD sales contract. C-O-N-T-R-A-C-T, contract. Word number 15 is contract, as in HUD sales contract. C-O-N-T-R-A-C-T, contract. Word number 15 is contract. Please write this down so when we ask you in a few minutes to put in the last 6 words, 12 through 17, you have them available. This is for Con Ed participation, 2 hours. Word number 15 is contract. C-O-N-T-R-A-C-T, contract. I'm also going to give you word number 16, which is paint, as in lead-based paint. We went over the lead-based paint requirements. P-A-I-N-T, paint. Word number 16 is paint. If you're participating for Con Ed today, please write down word number 16 as paint. P-A-I-N-T, paint. Word number 16 is paint. Paint. P-A-I-N-T, paint. Okay, we're in the home stretch here. I'm going to talk about advertising HUD homes. Many selling agents do not realize that you also have HUD's federal permission as a licensed agent to advertise HUD homes. You do not even need the permission of the seller or the listing agent to advertise their HUD homes. I do understand, as people tell me, Some of the MLSs are a little hinky about this, but if you need their permission in order to do it, then feel free to email them or call them and get their permission. They will give it to you because they have to. You just must follow HUD's guidelines for advertising HUD homes. I'm going to go over those guidelines right now, but keep in mind those guidelines, as well as everything that I talked about today, is in our Selling Broker Handbook. Our Selling Broker Handbook, again, is on our website, blvresources.com, as well as on the Addendums tab of all of our listings on HUDHomestore.com. So you must advertise HUD homes in a professional, ethical, and positive manner. You must refer to the properties as HUD homes, HUD owned, or HUD acquired. You must also include the Equal Housing Opportunity logo in all advertising, mentioning HUD, signage, website, flyers, etc. You must know any floodplain zones or other warning information as it appears on HUD's property or HUD's internet listing if applicable. You must adhere to all federal, state, county, city, and real estate commission advertising regulations and the Truth in Lending Act when advertising HUD homes. When showing a HUD home, always secure the property before you leave, all doors, windows, etc. If you've unlocked or unsecured it, please lock and secure it. If you see that it's unlocked or unsecured, please lock and secure it. If it cannot be locked and secured for any reason because it's damaged or broken, please contact the local listing broker immediately so they can get a work order issued to get that property secured ASAP. Do not advertise homes before they're listed for sale to the general public. Do not use HUD or FHA in a customized URL or email address. Do not state or imply the price of the property differs from that shown on HUD's website. And do not give out your HUD keys. Do not refer to or advertise the properties as distressed, repo, foreclosed, repossessed, must sell, or any other adjectives with a notable negative connotation. Do not place signage in or on a HUD home. This is reserved for local listing brokers only. And do not destroy, damage, or remove the advertising or signage of another HUD registered selling or listing agent. That said, you can advertise HUD homes in much the same way you advertise any of your other listings. Newspapers, homes magazines, flyers, billboards, internet, TV, radio. We also recommend you utilize our HUD photo list. Our HUD photo list is available on our website, blvresources.com. And it's actually now under the Agent Resources tab, about halfway down. As I mentioned, we just did an update this weekend on that. And it has all of these areas for Michigan here. And it's a turnkey marketing solution that looks like this. You can email these out, you can mail them out, you can clip a couple out, put them on a postcard, or you can simply advertise, please call me for your free HUD photo list. It is a turnkey marketing solution that is available to you. You can even print them on the back of a flyer that you put in flyer boxes on other properties. So, how can I get more training is the burning question of the day, I'm sure. As I mentioned early in the session, this is a lot of information. It's very comprehensive. There's a lot of details that go into most of these areas. But once you know this information, it's very helpful and it's very easy to process. So I do encourage you to go to these sessions more than one time a year. Either Erica may host them again as a webinar. There's also other ones around town being hosted by myself or by other local listing brokers in that area. And all of our training classes will be posted on our training tab, which again, I think they moved to the there's now a tab here, and it's called Agent Resources, and I believe if you click that, it has a link to the training calendar. You can find something that meets your schedule. Some of them are comprehensive, like today's class. Some of them are NAID-oriented, or some of them are just HUD Home Store-oriented. Some are just bid and contract information. So you can find something that meets your schedule, but also gives you the information that you're looking for. So, word number 17 in the Con Ed series, this is the last word, word number 17, is advertise. A-D-V-E-R-T-I-S-E, advertise, as in advertising HUD homes. Word number 17 is advertise. A-D-V-E-R-T-I-S-E, advertise. Word number 17, advertise. You're trying to participate for Con Ed today. The very last word is advertise. As in advertising HUD homes. Advertise. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and indicate to Erica that if she hasn't already, you can certainly do that last quiz for the last 6 words, 12 through 17. I'd also like to welcome any questions. If you have any questions on anything we talked about, or maybe we didn't talk about it that's HUD related, feel free to type those questions in, and we can get those answered as well.
Okay, I've launched test number 3.
Okay, great. We'll give them a few minutes to go ahead and submit their test, and then if they have any questions, you can type those in as well. Okay, hopefully you've entered in all the words for Con Ed. We will certainly verify those, and if you've entered all 17 words, we will. I will get Erica the Con Ed certificates to distribute, which will come through your email. If you have any questions, if you've submitted your quiz and you have any questions, feel free to type those in to the chat or question bar, and we can certainly get any questions you may have addressed. Do you have any questions that you'd like me to address, Erica?
No, I'd like to thank you for doing such a wonderful job instructing the class today, Amy. Thank you so much.
Well, my pleasure.
And we have 67% of the test completed, so maybe we can give them about 30 more seconds.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, is everyone complete? Okay. Um, okay, agents and brokers, I want to personally thank you for taking this continuing education class with the Ethical Experts Real Estate Education Center. And I look forward to having you participate in our other classes, and they can be viewed at www.mihomedeals.com. And again, thank you and have a great day. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Erica, for having me. It was my pleasure to educate agents on HUD today. And if I can be of further service to any of you, please contact me via phone or email.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll be ending the session now.